Call to order the regular Town Commission meeting for January 28th, 2025. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kurzman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrell,
Here.
Commissioner Fender,
Here.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Here.
Commissioner Tadiscus.
All right, on the agenda, we have proclamation and presentations, swearing in of Police Officer Ellen Andrade. Chief Tina?
Thank you, Commissioners. It's always a fantastic day when we're swearing in a new police officer, and it's always especially exciting when we see a family who's so excited about the beginning of their career, and that's what we have here today. Alan Andretti is the newest officer to join the Sewall Point Police Department. He was born in Brazil, and when he was young, his parents emigrated to the United States, and in 2023, he became a naturalized United States citizen. He attended high school in Port St. Lucie as well as in Miami, graduating from Dr. Michael Kropp Senior High School. And in 2024, he attended the police academy at Miami-Dade College North Campus, graduated, and passed a state law enforcement exam. When we conduct background investigations, we contact friends and references. And it was sort of interesting when I saw the officer in the back, I thought maybe he was one of the references I'd contacted about a speeding ticket. But it turns out that this is a personal friend of his, which came all the way up to Miami Gardens, which speaks volume about our applicant that he's coming up here today. His references describe him, though, as having high morals and ethical standards. He'll always help others and is willing to go above and beyond for someone in need. And as we know in police work, that's certainly a quality that we're looking for. That he has a great mindset, personality, he has a passion for law enforcement, and he's going to be a great asset to our agency. Officer Andretti is here today with his extended family, including his parents, children, sister, as well as personal friends. So it's an exciting day for all of his family. And as a police department, we're equally as excited to have him here as a member of our law enforcement team. If we could please ask Officer Andretti and his wife Victoria to step forward, please. Solemnly swear that I will, during my continuance in office, to the best of my skill and ability, faithfully discharge all duties which may be required of me, and that I will, in all cases, conform to the ordinances of the town of Sewall Point and its police regulations. I will, without partiality, faithfully enforce the ordinances of the town of Sewall Point and all laws, and will uphold both the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Florida. I, a citizen of the State of Florida and of the United States of America, and being employed by and an official of the town of Sewall Point and a recipient of public funds as such officer or employee, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the State of Florida. Congratulations.
How How you guys doing? Thank you for everyone coming out. I appreciate it a lot. It's a privilege to be here, honestly, and I wanted to thank you all for considering me and letting me be here and giving me the chance to do something for my family, for the history, and to be a part of this. So I hope that I do the best that I can, and I show something in the city that, is different for you guys, and, something great. Again, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Welcome here. There you go. All right, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Being none? And for additions, deletions, and changes to the agenda, we're going to add 6F for ProLogic ITS, and for 12, I'm going to add 12A for revised capital priorities. Any other changes or deletions?
Mayor, those were on the agenda. That's just the backup information that we provided.
Okay. Any-
I just pushed my button.
Commissioner Brill, or Vice Mayor?
I'd like to pull one item from the agenda today and move it to the workshop on February 8th, and that is the priorities. Since we're having a workshop anyway, we might as well spend some more time on this as well, on February 8th at 9:30.
Commissioner Fender?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but I wonder if we can't just introduce it here.
Yeah.
Just, maybe have a conversation about the process and.
That's fine. Sounds good to me.
All right.
Could you explain that to me, Commissioner Fender, in terms of introduce it here? What do you mean?
Well, I don't fully understand the process myself, so I was going to let the town manager introduce, it's in the agenda, right?
Right.
So we're here, so whatever process we are going to follow at the proposed change to the charrette or the.
12A?
we should-
Got it.
Yeah, we should just sort
Thank
of
you.
talk about what will happen on that day, is really.
All right, being there's no changes or deletions to the agendas, do we have a motion?
So move,
I made a motion on that.
I will second.
Roll call?
Vice Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Fender?
Hang on, we've got a discussion.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. So you're removing item 12A? Isn't that what you proposed, or what your motion was?
Yeah, the town commission goals and priorities.
I thought you said you
Well, I
wanted to
I
kind of
guess
leave
I
them on, but then you
the
seconded it.
modification that we would discuss
Oh.
it and introduce it, not complete the process today. Maybe I misunderstood your motion.
I just wanted to make sure.
And
Good
Commissioner
clarification.
Burrell agreed on it at that point, so then we go
you
with the
restate that
motion at that
motion?
point.
Okay, I'd like to move item 12A, item 12, which is under discussion, A, commission goals and priorities. I'd like to move it to February 8th at 9:30, along with the traffic speeding thing. Along with, well, right now,
I guess my point is, I really don't want to remove it, I just don't want to finalize it today.
Yeah.
So maybe I can't second your motion since you want to remove it, because I think we should discuss it.
well, okay.
I mean, you can change your motion to.
Continue it.
Well, and so we'll discuss it instead, but we'll move the official.
When we get to that point,
So
so we'll just leave it right now.
Maybe restate the motion again? Sorry.
Okay, I'd like to move item 12,
See, I don't
the
think we're moving
final
that. We're-
workshop, okay, without explanation, we'll get the explanation and discussion tonight, to February 8th at 9:30 a.m.
You understand?
Okay, now do I have a second? Being none? Can I have a motion to make for the agenda that we've already discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Vice Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus? Yes. Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
Yes. We move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Move for acceptance of the consent agenda.
Second?
Roll call?
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
Yes.
Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrell?
Yes.
We skip ahead to 12, discussion, Town Commission goals and priorities. Town Manager?
Yes, Mayor. Again, in the packet that you have for the agenda is what the commission back in 2020 developed. And I'm not sure of the complete process, and maybe Commissioner Fender can walk us through what that process was back then, other than I think there was feedback from the residents and the commission, and you all ranked the priorities. We had this 1 year ago, we had Kim Delaney come in and we did a workshop on our strategic plan, and then basically came up with the plan that you all have a copy of in front of you on the dais. And we use that as part of our capital plan when we put it together every year. For tonight, or maybe my suggestion would be if you want to do this and, have a little bit of discussion, but I do have ranking sheets that I'd like to pass out. You can utilize those or decide what you want to do. I was just going to try to give something to each of you so you had it that was more in a similar form. So, I didn't have things coming in on a cocktail napkin, or not a cocktail napkin, I'm sorry, but on different pieces of paper. This way it's a format that we have. And if you will allow me to hand it out and then just kind of walk through it real quickly.
Yeah.
Get my fingers to work. Vice Mayor? Thanks. Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, basically, we were looking at, taking the top 5 items. I think if we sat down and we wanted to go through 50 items again, we'd probably be, over several months getting to where we want to be. I'd probably rather wait till we have another strategic planning session, next year, and do that walkthrough on where we want to do, so we have some guidance. The staff has some guidance on where the commission wants to go. But again, that's all your decision. I'm just throwing it out, food for thought. But basically, I just thought we could try to come up with a goal or a vision for our top 5 priorities and coming to some consensus between the commission. So I like the idea that, the Vice Mayor brought up about, talking about this subject when we have, everyone together for the speeding problems on the 8th, the workshop that we have. But again, in a workshop, you're not going to make a decision in the workshop. It's for gathering information. And then we could come back on the meeting on the 11th and maybe go through these, or if you wanted to submit them to me ahead of time, if you've already made your decision on what your top 5 are, and I can put them into a spreadsheet, or however you want me to proceed with it. I just wanted to make sure I was fulfilling what you all wanted to do.
Commissioner Mayfield?
I think that was from
Oh,
before.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Commissioner Fender?
Okay. Well, I pushed my button when you prompted me there a little bit, so,
Sorry.
I think this is a pretty important process, which is why I jumped at the second of Vinnie's proposal to move part of this to the day where we have a workshop. I think that, and I guess my question is, I'm happy to follow any process that the commission desires. I can offer some ideas, but as long as we go through the process, I think it's healthy. But as far as having it on the workshop day, I guess my question would be then, do we want to give, as part of that process, the opportunity for feedback from residents? I mean, I think they should be as vocal in this process as we are. And we're just coming off a campaign, and I collected a lot of data during the campaign that I've got in a separate spreadsheet that I'll somehow swizzle into your 5-step process. If that's the process we follow, that's great. I also have the data from the last 8 years of doing this as well, so all prioritized. And so, there's a lot of data, and I'm happy to share it or follow the process you want to be able to rank order what's our most important 5 initiatives over the next, I guess, year or whatever the time frame we're talking about. And I'm also open to input to follow any process that you desire.
Commissioner Titicus.
Well, a couple things. When I first got the packet, I looked at it, and then I went and I approached Mr. Daniels, and I said, what was the computation methodology? And what's the highlighting mean? Because it didn't make any sense to me, or at least I couldn't figure out, the numbers didn't add up and so on down the line.
You talking about the strategic plan?
No, I'm talking about
What's in there?
what was in the book when we got it.
2020 spreadsheet.
2020
that's
spreadsheet.
okay.
Right. And then, but I did find it, back in 2020 at a meeting somewhere back there to where, and it did involve public involvement. And so I would suggest, rather than, I think the workshop on traffic calming is going to be, a pretty long workshop, at least from what I've heard from different people, and I've been getting emails, as you all have been getting emails. I would suggest something else. Our town charter, under Article 2, calls for a town plan and a planning board. And so I would suggest that we constitute a planning board, as the charter reads, to provide by ordinance for the adoption of a town plan, creation of a town planning board, and appointment of members thereof. The commission shall by ordinance prescribe the duties of the town planning board, exact ordinance for the enforcement of the board, and prescribe penalties for their violation. This would get citizen involvement. We would have an opportunity to have, a number of individuals sit down, go through these, prioritize them, and then bring them to the commission, in which case, we could either accept, modify, or reject. And I think that it would have an opportunity to involve people in town, and it would also expedite the process here with the commission.
Vice Mayor.
No, never mind.
Okay. Commissioner Fender.
I like your ideas. I wonder if there's a more expeditious way to include town input than the formation of a board. Not opposed to it, I'm just saying that could really get bogged down, and plus that it limits the input to just those people on the board, as opposed to a more data gathering process in a short confined workshop type space where, people can put their ideas or vote on a list of priorities themselves. That way everybody has input and it gets done quickly and we can move on and start enacting some of those ideas. I'm worried about the time it's going to take for a quote-unquote board. Maybe my term of board and yours are separate. There's something different. But, I'm just concerned about the time frame.
I'm happy to share the ordinance.
I think we have a board. If you're worried about quoting ordinance,
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, so in reference to that board, that's in our charter, and I believe it says, doesn't it say we would have to make ordinances to make the board? Is that what it says?
No, it says, may I respond?
Yes, please.
Okay. It says the commission shall by ordinance prescribe the duties of the town planning board.
Yeah, so we would have to make an ordinance to prescribe the duties? That's what it sounds like to me.
That may already be in there because we have had a town planning board. It has met, as a matter of fact, today at the groundbreaking, one of the folks that was there talked to me about the fact that they had participated in this process. a number of years ago. So, I think if we went through the 440 ordinances that we have out there, we might find it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of it off the top of my head, but I certainly don't know all our ordinances inside and out. My other question is, for a planning board, I guess because I've read the charter, and I thought of that as more, land planning, I don't know, zoning, or like when the commission decides things and they're more of the official. I'm not saying that we can't do it. I'm just saying this seems more like, when we're looking at priorities, that's more, to Commissioner Fenner's point, getting a lot of different information from a lot of different people, compiling that. And so I'm not against a planning board either, but I'm not sure that's exactly what I thought that board, this seems more like priority gathering from everybody, including the commissioners, as opposed to planning, which I took to mean land planning.
Can I interject this? You actually happen to be correct. I was sat on a planning board for many years, and what a planning board does is when somebody's looking to bring something in for renovation, building, land clearing, whatever that would be, that would go before us in the planning board. So we'd also look how water is going to run, make sure something's not going to flood. That's pretty much what the planning board did where I came from. I don't know what else the planning board would do. We're pretty much a built-out community. I mean, there are some homes that are still going to be built as things are getting torn down, but we're out of empty lots, pretty much, and I don't know what a planning board would serve. Okay.
We have, I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder. We spent $169,000 a couple years ago to have a planner come in and basically develop this document for you all.
It's a different document.
Different document? Well, anyway, we spent $169,000 with a planner to do something. And I'm just suggesting, if we're going to sit down and say, what are the priorities for this town? And, we should turn around and get a citizen board, and that citizen board can meet. They can solicit input from other citizens and other residents in town, and then bring it forward and say, here's what we think the direction for the strategic initiatives and goals and priorities should be for the commission.
I mean, that's something we go into more discussion on. Maybe, as we mentioned, when we come in for the next meeting, which will be on a Saturday, that's something we could discuss a little bit further. Commissioner?
So I'm interested in the conversation you had with the person earlier today, because we did have a process several years ago. I don't know how many, I'm interested in the process you're describing, but the process we had was with the previous town manager, where we had a workshop, and we had a place for every resident to vote, and that was part of what generated input on at least the 2020 list. Are you describing another scenario?
Yeah, this was, I think, before that.
Okay.
And there was a planning board that met and, developed a plan that I think ultimately got updated into what is now the town strategic plan. And it's a 78-page document that we, as I said, we spent $169,000 for, and I don't think many people read, because if you did read it, you'd say,
Document. We have people in the audience who've been here much longer than us that might, if they remember that planning board, that might be good input for us, because it must have been before my time.
Mayor, may I make a point?
Yes, please.
I just really want to clarify, the $169,000 was not for the strategic plan, it was for the comprehensive plan, which was an intensive process over a long period of time. I don't know for sure, but I think all municipalities have them. It's kind of a requirement to get grants. They need to be verified by the state. It's a whole involved process that no committee of town residents would be able to do. So I believe that money was very justified in being spent. So I don't want it confused with the strategic plan. It's the comprehensive plan.
Commissioner, go ahead.
I would respectfully disagree with you that our residents don't have the ability to do something like that.
That was very entailed, because there's a lot of things, it was a lot of legal things that were in there, that things that we could do and couldn't do, that you had somebody that was very familiar with the laws of the state. I remember that.
Point of
Eh,
order.
eh,
I think we
and-
can stay on task.
Well-
That's a rabbit hole that we don't need to go down.
Yeah, but going back on the priorities, the one thing I will say, we have three major things, or actually two major things that we've really got to concentrate more on than worrying about other priorities. Number one is the resiliency. Number two, as we know, is the septic to sewer hookup, which we got going. We're talking over $20 million. Before we try and add other things into priorities, and we concentrate on this. This is the most major thing we have going on. There's nothing that's more important, and I don't want to see the towns, whatever the priorities are, as long as it doesn't cost money, I don't care then. Anything that costs money, I don't want to spend any of the town's money at this point. We have those two major projects, and, we're depending on grants for these. And I don't know why we're even going to bother talking about the priorities, because there's two priorities we have to take care of, and if we don't, we're sunk. I don't want to spend a penny if I don't have to. I'm looking, if it was possible, I wish I could cut money, but there's very little to cut. It's just, we're at the end right now. If we were talking about something that's not going to cost, I'm okay with it. So if we're talking about any more projects, I'm not in at all at this point. I know we're talking about slowing the speed down on the road and stuff. That's something that we've heard enough people. Once again, if it's not going to cost us much or cost us anything, I'll be receptive. But we got, let me see, Commissioner Mayfield.
Excuse me. Yes, just in terms of this topic, I don't think it's a bad idea for commissioners to put down their priorities and the reason and, kind of compile them. I think that can only help. I mean, I don't think it could hurt. And then what we decide to do with them, to your point, is a separate thing. And then I like the idea of, if you wanted to gather input from residents, maybe, I don't know about a workshop. I'm not against that either, but I don't know if you get a good reception to email. So that's kind of my thought process is we put together our priorities, ask the citizens what their priorities are, and kind of just do a real, not a strategic plan per se, but just the priorities of the town and the commissioners just to kind of maybe give us some focus of sort. And as for the planning board, I'm not against that either, but my understanding is that it's a different type of planning than this type of planning, because the term planning is somewhat generic. And I think of the planning board as a more technical land thing than what does the town want to do in the future kind of planning. So that's my,
I'm open to things that don't cost money, but, I'm always listening to listen to a fantasy, but that's fine. Vice Mayor.
Well, it seems as if in February of 2020, we were on the board that look at all of these priorities. I mean, you think you sat down at a meeting like this and went through every one of these priorities? No, we had a workshop, just for priorities. And because it takes a while. Look how long we're already just discussing this. I mean, so, a workshop is not going to take much longer, or if it does, it does. I mean, it's strictly for that particular project, or we can combine it with the traffic. Now, you're expecting a big crowd for traffic. Well, I don't know what a big crowd is, okay? You know what I mean? So, if you're going to expect a big crowd and you get 4 people, then we're losing this time, okay, that we could be spending on these priorities. So, I mean, it's just, even if we spent 2 more hours going through these priorities on that Saturday, there still will be residents in the audience to help us along. And this gives us time to advertise. Okay, so now maybe we'll get more residents in here. And we'll get more feedback on the speeding and priorities. So, I still believe that we should have an extended workshop on February 8th.
So I was just going to say
Yes.
that, I believe this exercise, including your board idea, is a data gathering exercise. We actually have a strategic plan. It's pretty good. It actually lists things in priority order. I think what we're doing now, including with the town manager's process of 5, is sort of rationalizing the pathway I think we already know we're on and you've articulated. We should always be garnering resident input, and I think this process that Vice Mayor is suggesting allows the residents to have input without bogging us down in a board forever. And a board, by the way, is expensive, because time is money. But I think the data gathering priority exercise rationalizes what we're doing against strategic plan we have, the list of priorities we're working on, and then continues to mandate your focus on the things that we already know we should be working on. So if you get different input into that, then that should be a red flag for you. But I think you're gonna learn that you're on the right track. But it's a good exercise, and I agree with Vice Mayor.
Commissioner Tedeschi.
Well, I agree with Vinnie that I think, or Commissioner Burrell, that more time needs to be given to this. And, you know, I would suggest that we set up a workshop for it. And I don't necessarily think that, you know, I would hate to cram the speeding. And, you know, I don't know how many people are going to show up, but there are a fair number of folks that are pretty passionate about it. As you can see, the email traffic that's going back and forth. So I'm not sure you're going to have time to do both. But I would be in favor of setting another time and holding a workshop just on the strategic initiatives. And if obviously you all think that have a different view of a planning board than I do.
Commissioner Pender.
I'm fine either way. You separate it or put it together. I don't think it needs to be as onerous as all that. I think basically you've got the town manager's process of getting 5 priorities and be able to prioritizing them. At the workshop where residents will be there anyway, that are passionate enough to have input, they may want to fill out this form, and that gives you a finite sort of process to allow them to have input as well, and their input is as valuable as mine for certain, you know, so I'm happy to have those residents at our workshop be able to put input in. And then we can, if it's warranted to have a further workshop after that, we can discuss it, and we can certainly do that also. I mean, why lose, you'll have the quote-unquote crowd, I don't know how crowded it'll be, but you'll have some bodies there that can have some input, and they should have input.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yeah, I think I would vote for combining them just to save everybody's time, and weekends are difficult for some people, and it's the staff's time too, so I think that trying to make, and to your point, if it seems to be too much, there's always the opportunity for another meeting.
Good.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a hard stop that day because of a funeral later on, which, I mean, well, this was at noon, and actually the funeral starts at 11, but, and it'll run through. However, this was scheduled for 9:30 to 11:30, 2 hours. So. May have to
That's right, I
leave.
got you. Anybody else? Town manager.
I was, we set the time frame up, just so everybody's aware, I'm also attuned to staff, you know, because we do call upon them for our special events to come in and work weekends and so forth. And I was trying to at least give them a deadline where, hey, you know, you come in, we'll go through it, and you'll be out of here by 11:30. So, you know, I do want to take their needs into account as well, if y'all don't mind.
Can we play it by ear?
Yeah. That's all. We might find that, you know, the solution for the speeding is everybody comes to consensus, and you got an extra half an hour or an hour, and, you know, maybe I'm a eternal optimist, I don't know. But, you know, if whatever spare time we have, we can definitely use it and then move it again, you know, or even to a regular meeting. Sorry.
Okay, could I make a suggestion then, if we're going to try and tail them or dovetail them together, that the commissioners at least fill this out and return it to Mr. Daniels, and then if you could collect them and then disseminate them to a copy to all the commissioners so that we can see what, what everybody's priorities are.
At least it gives us something to start. You got something to start with now, and we could get an idea where we all stand.
Which is why I wanted to have this discussion today instead of putting it off.
If I may, though, too, making sure that we discuss it in a meeting. I don't want to see you get jammed where we don't have a public meeting to discuss it, and, information gets out that I know, Commissioner Fender put these as his priorities if somebody's talking to somebody, and, we should, it's meant, I thought the process was meant for, try to build some unity between the commission, so we have a concrete direction on where we're going, so.
Vice Mayor?
Well, that's how we got to this
Yes,
2020 strategic initiatives.
5 years ago.
Yep.
A lot of that stuff is
We had a
coming.
workshop, and then we pushed it to the commission, and we sat at a regular meeting, and we discussed the priorities that we discussed on the workshop, and which ones we like the best, and then that goes to the public. They sit and they listen, and if they don't like them, they don't like them. I mean, that's just the way we've done it. And so, things have changed so much that,
But the public had input into this as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We had a
I mean,
pretty
it wasn't
packed
just
room.
us. I mean, we had public input on this.
Yeah, the room was pretty full that day, too, and I remember it was long and
It was a while ago, and so
very productive it was. But
the
that's,
more you let people know about it,
yeah.
the more they're going to come and they're going to contribute.
Got to think how much has changed, though. Back then, we didn't have the sewer projects.
Yeah, but we
On
still
the
had,
south,
we still
didn't
had
have the.
workshops.
Yeah, we did, yes.
I mean, the sewer goes back to 1974,
Yeah, but
and they're still doing it, so,
the
you know.
the resiliency projects are going full-blown now and everything, so it's become a long ways. And why don't we, my suggestion would be if we have the extra time, we'll talk about it more during the workshop. If we can't fit it in, we'll set another date to workshop this again. So this way, we could all go through our priorities, we could get some input from the public. And how would you suggest? I'm going to ask the town manager.
No, I think that's the right way of taking a look at it. And, we'll put it on the agenda for the workshop meeting on the 8th. And if we need more time other than what we end up having on the 8th, then we can always schedule another workshop. We can also dedicate, a meeting again where we can invite the public here and, give them a little bit more opportunity to comment at that meeting on the priorities. And I think, I can't remember which one of you made the suggestion about having this form available for them to fill out as well, so I can make sure I have a supply of them. And, so I can have that here on the 8th, and then we can, get the feedback. So even if somebody didn't get to speak or something on the priorities, if they leave us the sheet, we kind of know what they're thinking.
I like the idea of having workshops on Saturdays because the public has more availability. Right now, you probably have people still coming home from work or eating dinner. Maybe we could do like one workshop every other month on a Saturday, if the commission could handle it. Vice Mayor, I'm sorry.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But I will say that I agree with doing what you said, that we should hold it, we should put this on the agenda, but we should also find a way to get more information out to the residents, okay, other than just put it on the agenda,
Right.
okay?
We'll do this, send out the constant contacts and do the whole PR
Right,
thing.
just do the whole thing so people really get a feel for it. Thank you.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm on board with all this stuff, and yes, I think a lot of Saturdays are hard, and then staff, that's like working 6 days a week, and weekends are hard. Anyways, I'd like to keep the Saturdays, only when we need it, not,
That's fair.
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Didikis.
I'm a proponent of the workshop idea, and I agree with Commissioner Mayfield that, Saturdays and asking the staff to work 6 days a week, even though it does allow perhaps more public participation. But I would suggest that we strongly consider going to one meeting a month and one workshop a month, because I think there are enough topics out there that we could possibly fill the workshop space. And there's other ways of doing it. I mean, we could turn around and use technology and do a Zoom participation so that people don't necessarily have to be here, but can turn around and Zoom in or call in and participate in the meeting and express their feelings. They could be at home, they could be at work, they could be anywhere.
Vice Mayor?
We used to do that a long time ago. Once we would have one meeting, and we would have one workshop. As far as Zoom is concerned, I'm not in favor of Zoom, only because I've listened to people on Zoom sometimes, and it's not exactly a pleasant thing, at a meeting like that. During COVID, of course, we did a lot of meetings on Zoom, and there were a lot of comments that were made that were really uncalled for. And so I'm not a proponent of that. I want to see the face. If you got something to say it to my face. Okay? That's the way it was.
One thing I will say, when we had it, every other meeting was a workshop. We became more productive when there were old meetings, because I felt we accomplished more during that period. Would you agree with me? Because and Frank, would you agree? We were more productive just doing meetings and not doing every other workshop. We moved things along. We'd been through that already. And I was against changing it, but then lo and behold, we moved things along. Things happened quicker. We were able to vote on things, and things were no longer delayed. When you had the workshop, you couldn't vote, and it got delayed. Sometimes if you couldn't put it into the next meetings, and it goes a month and a half out. It was a no-win situation for us, and then finally we decided to do all meetings, and when we did that, we became a more productive commission. At least I felt that way. Since we changed it, we've been there, and it really didn't work out that great in the past. I'm just basing it on history. I appreciate what you're saying, though. So let me start from the end again. Commissioner Mayfield.
No, I was actually just going to kind of say what you said, is that we did do that. And I think all four of us were here for the workshop and then the voting, and then we changed it to all voting because of that issue. If you're officially a workshop, and somehow, I mean, if you're calling it a workshop, in theory, that's not voting. So, I mean, in theory, couldn't you have discussion items that you're not, I don't know, when we say workshop, what is the big bonus? The fact that you're not voting on it, or the fact that you have more people coming to give input? Like, it's really just a semantics thing almost, because we have topics at a regular meeting that we don't vote on. Sometimes we're just doing consensus. So by making them official regular meetings, it was always like the guaranteed lawyer, because we had a time where we're like, well, we don't have to have the lawyer for the workshop because we're not going to vote on anything. But inevitably topics would come up where we're like, oh, we need a lawyer, we need that advice. So that's how we ended up with the 2 regular meetings. And so in terms of I think that in theory, some topics that are important at a regular meeting, and then maybe you could say you don't have to vote on it, and you could advertise that you're looking for more input for that item or something. I'm just looking for a way to find the middle ground here.
I remember years ago, you all had meetings that were regular meetings followed by a workshop. And then normally I would leave for the workshop unless you wanted me to stay. That way you weren't worried about legal fees for the workshop part of it, and you could take care of your business and then workshop something.
Another strategy.
Yeah, we
That's
could.
just history.
That's a long time ago. Yeah. Vice Mayor.
Well, the reason for a workshop is exactly that. It's a workshop. It's where you sit and you discuss issues like we're discussing right now. And you don't have to worry about a vote. You don't have to worry about rushing it through for a vote, because I've seen that in the past as well, where items have been rushed through for a vote. However, I think a workshop is the way to go, once a month. so that the staff, of course, has everything prepared. We do the same thing we do for a meeting. We go through items, and the public has a chance to sit in and listen and come up and make their comments. So I'm going to go along with one, I'm going to recommend that we do one workshop and one regular meeting a month. Settle it.
Commissioner Fender.
I'm going to let you guys work out the workshop meeting protocols. I'm not passionate either way. I'll go with whatever you decide and what makes sense. I'll vote on it if it comes to a vote, but I'm really still on the priorities thing. I was just going to say that I participated this week in the Tourist Development Council strategic planning session, which is the committee that I'm on. And they pulled us into another room. They had a facilitator, but they did something that was pretty interesting, and I don't know if we could pull it off. I'm just going to throw it out there that we now have the technology on our cell phones, and they have an application that's free, where if you put the priorities on there, everybody in the audience can pull out their phone and vote or provide input. So maybe there's a nifty way to get these prioritized data and get input from others into a digestible manner. And we can take it offline, but, you know, the Tourist Development Council used that technology, and it was pretty cool, and it was easy, and it was kind of fun, even, you know. So.
All right. Commissioner Titicus.
Well, I mean, I'm all for the workshop idea, obviously, and the more we can use technology to increase citizen input, I think the better off we are, because we're getting feedback from, you know, the people that elected us. So whatever we can do to enhance, increase public participation, I'm all for. In terms of slowing down the process, you know, I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder. I had mentioned at my first meeting here that this commission had turned around and over the last 4 years had passed 44 ordinances, which is roughly 11 a year on an average, which seems pretty heavy to me. And, you know, I think, you know, I don't mind slowing down the process. I would like to see it slowed down. Less government is less intrusion in everybody's life.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes, as far, you know, to Commissioner Fender's point, you know, we had the priorities and now we're talking about workshop, regular meeting. I need some time to think about that, just because I mean, we've talked about what we call a workshop. So would we say, oh, we're not going to vote on anything at a workshop? If that's how it is, then I don't support that, because I do think once a month is just not enough when we're doing grants. And everybody, you know, you're like, oh, we want to have approval for appropriation requests, or we need approval for the grant. Like, we want to give everybody approval, which makes sense. But if you're only doing that once a month, it's amazing how fast time goes by. And so I can't, if we're saying no voting at a workshop, that is not something that I think is in the best interest of the town and the people. But if there's some leeway, then, so that's why I want some time to, like, I don't know, talk to the town manager, or if we're doing it now, but it just seems kind of a rushed little change that I'm not sure exactly what it means for us in the town. So I'd rather stay status quo and think about it and research it a little bit more before we change it. That's my opinion.
You took the words right out of my mouth, but I was going to say pretty much the same thing, because we have, like, once again, we're looking to hunt down tens of millions of dollars in grants to support these projects, and sometimes you have to be able to vote. If you don't, you know, we have a lot on our plate, and to say that if we have an opportunity to get a grant that's going to help us with the road project or whatever it might be, you darn well bet we got to be here and we got to be able to vote on it. I'm not going to give it up for a workshop, an exclusive workshop. I could add an hour in for a workshop if something's that dire that we got to discuss. We could add an extra 2 hours. I'm not going anywhere. If somebody wants to stay here, and I might be asking a lot, but you know what? If the meeting's about 10 minutes, I could talk 2-3 more hours after this, if that's what it takes to get community input. But I'm not going to gamble tens of millions of dollars that we could potentially lose, or even millions of dollars. We have too much going on, and I'm not going to sacrifice that. Vice Mayor.
No, I'll yield to Mr. Fender first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm for speed and efficiency, so I'll make a motion to leave the agenda as is with voting allowed at each meeting as needed, and if we have to talk and do workshops at the meeting in between, I think that's the way our current agenda is stated, and so I'm making a motion to leave the agenda as is.
You mean, can I clarify before there's a second? You mean like all future agendas, or?
No, I'm just saying, status quo as we've been doing business now, and the agenda that we're using.
So do we even need to make a motion, since that's how we're doing it?
No, it sounds like we're getting a motion opposite.
I don't,
There's no more,
Glenn? Glenn? I mean, if that's how we're doing it, we don't need to,
there's nothing on the floor.
I just put something on the floor to leave the agendas as is.
Oh.
You can let it die.
well, if
Fine,
I
you
let
don't have
it
to
die,
second
then I'm not changing anything, right? I just
Yeah,
wanna
you-
be
That's
sure.
right,
Yeah,
but
I-
we're
I-
ending the conversation.
Oh, okay,
Y-
okay.
yeah,
You're
it's-
looking for, okay. Well, I'm done talking about it, so I'll second the motion to stay as we are, if this
Yeah.
is
Well,
what
that's
you're
all,
looking,
that's all I'm
okay.
throwing out there. You've got a motion to stay as we are.
I'll second.
All right, any more comment before, okay. Roll call on this.
Commissioner Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
No.
Mayor Kurzman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burrell,
No.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
3-2, motion passed.
Motion carries, carry on.
All right. Commission and staff closing comments. Staff.
If I can yield to the town attorney, Mr. Tercivia.
Couple of items, thank you. First, you all know it's the 4-hour training for your ethics, sunshine law, public records coming up. I think April put on your desk, Jupiter Island is hosting one, and they've asked us to do the 4-hour training this year, and that's going to be April 7th at, from 9 to 1 at Jupiter Island Town Hall. We're also doing the same presentation, hopefully a little bit different, but pretty much the same presentation on April 24th for the Treasure Coast League of Cities at the college in Fort Pierce. So, or you can do it online.
I
As,
thought it was, I don't think it was Fort Pierce. Is it down in,
did I say Fort Pierce?
yeah, Indian River College? down
Into college. So those are two options coming up, and again, you have a lot of online options. I know, you know, sometimes I have to request these attorney-client sessions where you meet in private, so I'm going to be requesting one. February 11th is your next meeting, so if you can make it at 5, I'll be requesting your advice in a case called Thompson and the TBA versus the Town of Sewell's Point. It's case CA 24-018. And again, at that session, Mayor and Commissioners, Ms. Daniels and myself will be present to discuss litigation strategy regarding that matter. So if you're all available an hour earlier on the 11th, that would be great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other staff comments?
That's it.
All right, commissioner comments.
I just have a question.
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
So does that mean Saturday we're not discussing our priorities at all?
We can if we have the time, why not?
Okay, is that what we
we
said?
said
That's
we
what
put- Yeah,
I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I think I'm
Put it on the
planning on
agenda.
having those sheets and, you know,
Okay,
we'll move forward on that. I think that's the direction I got.
Just wanted to commend the staff and the town manager and the mayor for the groundbreaking ceremony today. I thought that was fun. I like to see Commissioner Mayfield in a hard hat, so that was.
And
I just, I'm looking forward to the workshop on the 8th. I mean, as I've mentioned, I've gotten a fair amount of feedback on it. And I think it's a good thing, all ideas on the table, pro and con. And I've heard both ways, you know, I've heard people say, give me certain ideas, and then I've heard other folks say, just leave everything alone, don't mess with anything. But I think the larger the community turnout, the greater it is, and hopefully then we can arrive at a consensus for what to do or what not to do for South Sewell's Point Road, which we've got some jurisdiction, and then a plan of action for North Sewell's Point Road, to where we've got to deal with the county. But it's an ideal opportunity to get a lot of community input on the table. Oh, sorry.
And
say it.
Commissioner Fender again.
I was just gonna say, it strikes me just now, as you mentioned that, there's a little odd that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, but I will tell you that it's time well spent, because some of the initiatives and data I've collected says that speed is an issue for a lot of residents. So even though we're gonna get the priorities after the workshop, I think you're gonna find that some of the priorities you get from residents are that there's some speed calming issues.
All right, and one of the things I want to bring up is the Airport Noise Commission, which I sit on, and I'm sure you all read Dave Schuer's email, that we all got it. And one of the big problems we have there, have more flight schools, more flights going over our homes, and they need really, and I was in the last meeting, they need to encourage the flight schools not to fly over our homes, because what happens, to get your license, you have to fly 5 times in the dark. And which means you'll hear sometimes very loud planes, they're all propeller planes. They're usually going over our homes 2, 3, 4 in the morning, waking people up, and I know we've had complaints. And I would like to get something on the town website for airplane noise, because this way people will know where it actually goes right to, there's an Airport Noise Commission where they get the complaints. And I know I hear a lot of people, and I'm sure everybody in here has heard the planes going over their homes, and there are some planes that fly only over Sewell's Point instead of over the ocean, where they should be going. They should go over the inlet, right out to the ocean, and you go along and you're not disturbing anybody. And there is no air controller after 10 o'clock at night. So it's pretty much the school's got to control it. Federally, they could do whatever they want, but they're supposed to comply with our wishes, and they haven't. So I want to make everybody aware of this, and if we could put something, like I say, on the website, or even send out a blast to let the residents know about this, and to send emails to the Airport Noise Commission, let them know that we're getting our ears blown out in the middle of the night, when they're not supposed to do it. And like I say, they're not even supposed to do it after 10 o'clock at night. So this goes on, and it's getting worse, and it's excessive. Vice Mayor.
Well, I agree with you. We've been fighting this for years. I mean, the airport noise has been going on for a long, long time. And we finally came to an agreement, and the Airport Noise Committee sent a letter to all of the flight schools and asked them to please comply. Now, I don't know what ANAC is doing now. I mean, I don't know if the people that are on that committee are they totally airport friendly, or are they partial community friendly? However, I have called the airport noise hotline numerous times. Left my phone number, left the address, did everything they wanted to. I never got a call back, ever.
What I'd like to do is maybe if we could all send emails, I encourage every resident to send an email to the Airport Noise Commission, that they could try to tell the flight schools to encourage their students not to fly over the homes, but to go over the inlet out to the ocean and fly all you want, but you don't need to fly over our homes at this wee hours of the morning or the night, where it's infringing on just having a normal life to some people, and I know I've had complaints. And it doesn't help to complain to me, but it helps to write an email in. And I think these emails and the complaints, I want to see every meeting that I go to, every time somebody complains, there's a little red dot on each road. So, and it used to be a lot more dots. The dots are disappearing, but yet I'm getting all the complaints. And what I'd like to do is to have everybody send an email, and if we could put out like a blast to everybody, if you hear airplane noise over your home, please call this number, email, whatever it is, and give them a link on that. And I just want to literally give them a lot of noise from Sewell's Point the other way. And they got to keep on these flight schools, and they're not aggressive enough. That's kind of what bothers me. I just think they're very passive, and It's disrespectful.
Well, to finish my thought, we did have, this was on the website many years ago. There was a thing about, if you have a noise complaint, you could put it in the website. When it came to the town, and the town sent it over to the airport
Well,
manager, many years ago.
Part of the problem is nobody looks at our website. They see the email blast now, and so it's, but, you know, we need an
Here's
email
your answer
blast.
right there, I guess.
If we could get like 400 or 500 emails over to the Airport Noise Commission, I guarantee the nights will be a lot quieter. There's no reason to fly over Sewell's Point, and even during the day, as long as it's not windy out, because sometimes the winds, in their defense, do make a difference, but they could fly over the inlet to get out of here instead of over somebody's house. And I think it'll make a big difference if we could do that with a link for the residents to reply to.
Right.
Yes.
Dave, after we got that email from Dave Shore, Mayor, I spoke with Mr. Shore, and he indicated to me that, and I guess he's the president of WHAM,
Yes, correct.
and which is Witham
With,
Airport Advisory
yes.
Group or
And
something.
they've been around for a long time, but they're not incorporated. They have to be incorporated now, otherwise they can't be taken serious. That was what was said at the last meeting.
Well,
But yet, we had John Chicky, who was a former mayor that used to be on that commission, and with the Noise Commission, and all of a sudden, like, John left, now they're not replacing him with somebody. Now it's Friends of Wyndham, which is, once again, the flight school people and the pilots.
Well, question, I mean, that was what Mr. Shore brought up, was the fact that when Mr. Chicky resigned from the the advisory committee, Airport Noise Advisory Committee, that when WHAM went to appoint somebody else to take his place, they were told that unless they were an LLC or a corporation in some way, shape, or form,
Correct.
that they could not sit on the committee. And Dave said he asked the airport manager and the assistant county attorney who were there, where was this in the rules of ANAC? And nobody could point it out to him. So, I mean, you were at the meeting.
Yes.
I mean, this doesn't seem right. You got a citizen group out there. I mean, why do they have to be incorporated? But that's a whole other issue.
That was the big debate, that meeting.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But I'd say the voices and the emails will speak louder than the airplane noise we hear. We need like 400 or 500 emails. If we could get that, that'll make all the difference, and I guarantee those planes won't be flying over your homes.
I'm sorry, I got one other thing. We had gotten a letter a while back about the closing of obstetrics at the hospital, and a group had asked, they had sent it to every one of the commissioners, and this was either early January, late December, somewhere in there, and they had asked the commission to, take a look at this, or at least take a position on it. Mr. Daniels, do you remember that letter?
Yes, I think it was the beginning part of January.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, you're next.
Mayor, can I respond to that one point?
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
I got the email and I corresponded with and said, because the email was a little bit vague, they said they wanted to meet with commissioners. Are you talking about from Healthy Start Coalition?
Right.
Yeah. And so she had just said that they understood sunshine laws and wanted to meet with commissioners individually. So I'm going to meet with her next week. So, I do think it's an issue that Martin County doesn't have an obstetrics department. I think it's a big issue. So I'm just curious, I'm interested. I think that affects lots of women and families. So,
Who are you meeting with?
the Samantha something? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, is that something, after you have that meeting, is that something that you can bring back here and
Yes,
we could
yeah.
take a position on?
Yeah, yes, I was planning on meeting with her, seeing what she was going to say, and then, because she had gone to everybody, so I didn't know what everyone else was doing, so I was going to meet with her and then talk about it.
And you opened up one more subject that I wanted to talk about as long as we're on the Cleveland Clinic. I don't know if anybody's used the beautiful facility they opened up over on Canner Highway in Indian, right along there. Now, if you use it, used to be just pay a regular, fee. Now what they're doing, they're considered quote-unquote a hospital. So when you go to see a doctor, they're going to nail you with an extra $350 on top of your regular fee, which to me is criminal. And that what it is now, everything they're calling, it's no longer a doctor's office, now it's like a hospital facility. And so what they're doing is to bring in more money, which is taking advantage of the public. We already have a lack of doctors in Martin County, and what you're doing now, and Cleveland Clinic's taking us over. There's no place to go in Martin County but Cleveland Clinic. So if you go to the hospital, any of these places, quote unquote, is now a hospital, that used to be as doctor's offices, anything even on the campus that's remotely near a hospital, they're going to attach the hospital fees, and it's as high as over $1,500. So if you're going in to get an MRI or something, they're adding all these fees on. It's just, I have a real problem with that. And there's no place to go, and the population's growing, and we're not getting more doctor's offices.
That-
Yes.
What's happening, I've got some familiarity with it, Dave, and what's happening is hospitals are acquiring doctors' practices, and the Cleveland Clinic is a medical group that happens to own a hospital. When a physician is employed by a hospital, not only do you get the professional fee, but you also get a technical fee, which is a part of the law in Medicare and most insurance companies. And so the way to do away with that technical fee is to go to an independent practitioner here in town that is not employed by the Cleveland Clinic.
Good luck finding one. You have to wait 2 years to see them almost in some places. It's crazy. I'm exaggerating when I say that, but it's very hard to get in to see a doctor now for a lot of people. And this is something that was brought up to me by a few different people that live here. Touchy subject.
Going back to the airport thing about your incorporation,
Yes.
the person who really fought it was George Stokas, who was a prior manager of the airport.
I know.
So that says it right there. And he works for the
It's-
county, and I believe he should be a little bit more impartial than what he was
I
then.
like George. I have a good relationship with him.
nothing to do with
but,
liking him or
no,
not
no,
liking
I know, but we disagree on that.
Nothing personal,
We disagree on that. I agree.
know,
What
he
you're
just-
saying, though.
should not have taken a stance that strongly,
No.
that he insisted that they be incorporated, which they really don't have to be incorporated. I mean, I was appointed by, I forget who it was, anyway, I was appointed as a resident to go there for Sewell Point. And I sat on that committee as a resident before I became a commissioner. And so, I didn't have to be incorporated.
I never knew that.
Morris, right?
Yeah, I got appointed by the foot
Morris,
doctor,
wasn't
the
it?
foot doctor.
Oh, Paul,
Paul-
Shoppy.
Paul Shoppy, he appointed me, because he was supposed to go, and he didn't want to go, so he goes, well, let's send Benny Burrell. And so that's how I wound up going, and I wasn't incorporated. I was just a resident. So, they better rethink their stance on that, because
Yeah,
I think it could be a problem.
I agree. Any more commission comments? Do I have a mission to adjourn?
It's adjourned.
So moved.